Grab your glasses, everybody. It's time for a Moonshine Safari. All right, welcome everybody to Moonshine Safari. I'm Josh.
I'm Dina.
And thank you so much for joining us again for our 10th episode.
Wow, 10.
I know, 10 episodes. And those of you, thank you so much for listening. And those who keep, who have liked us on YouTube and Facebook and all that.
Twitter,
thank you so much.
Instagram.
And, yeah, just share with your friends. And I hope you're enjoying it. We still encourage you to comment even more, send us suggestions and things like that. So if you are inclined to do so, we would appreciate that.
We love it.
We do. If you follow the show, normally we have kind of a set, we say flow of how we kind of do things, though it's still kind of loose. We don't like to be too rigid, but usually the intro to our shows, we do shout outs and things. But we thought because of today being 9/11, that we should probably, in remembrance of those who lost their lives and those families who have been impacted, and all of us and all of the first responders who went in and lost their lives, and those who saved lives, and those who, I even read an article this past week that some of the first responders who showed up are showing cancer,
right? Because of every
asbestos
and all that stuff. Yeah.
So that horrible thing that happened to us is still happening. So much.
Well, it's one of those defining moments that's like, where were you when this thing happened? For our parents' generation, it was Kennedy. For us, it's 9/11.
Right. I was on my way to work when I heard it on the radio, and I was just in shock. And I remember I called you on the cell phone.
Yep,
right?
you called me.
You were asleep, and you were like, and you
I
just
jumped
couldn't believe
up.
what I was telling you. And then you turn on the TV. And when we got to work and turn on the TV there at work, and it was just you just couldn't believe
You couldn't
were
comprehend
seeing or
what you were
hearing.
seeing, right?
And everything just kind of kept coming in. And even back then, it wasn't like now. Now it's like almost instantaneous. 'Cause
Onslaught, yeah.
Everybody's got cell phones, and everybody's got this, and everybody's. But yeah, it was a very.
It's an awful day.
It was an awful day. It sure was. So us as a country, but all the families who are directly impacted, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm not trying to make it it is a somber time and a somber day, but it's also, guys, we have as a country kind of forgotten, and we need to not forget. We're going to let our guard down.
Right.
So it's time to wake up and open your eyes, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay, coming up next, guess where Josh and Dina went over the last
Amazing.
Saturday night? We went to see the Eagles.
We did.
And we're going to talk about that coming right up. Stay tuned.
What's Josh listening to?
Time.
Music.
Music is such a huge part of our lives. I mean, it is. Wow.
I know. We're going to be getting some more music up too.
We keep promising that, but
I know.
Yeah.
But we have been working on it. It's not like we're not working on it.
And doing things too. So we got a lot of stuff going on. But music is such a big part of our lives, and has always been a big part of our lives. And I think we've talked about this before, but oh my goodness. Let's talk about the Eagles concert Saturday night.
That was amazing.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Bought tickets 9 months ago.
Yeah. Oh, it's like giving birth.
It really was, yeah.
Actually, okay, I'm just going to say, and this is going to be part of my pet peeve coming up, it was like giving birth. Just getting there. Okay? Okay, I felt like I was giving birth. And I'm just saying, I was in a lot of pain. Ask Dina. I was in a lot of pain just driving around. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. Let's talk about the concert. Okay? How great it was. The music was amazing.
The music was fantastic.
So
I could not have hoped for better. The only thing that would have possibly made it better is if we had done it before Glenn Fry died.
Exactly.
But other than that, it was just phenomenal.
It was. And it is one of those bucket list things. And the Eagles, it's one of those groups that as you get to know me and kind of hear the stories of my life as I guess reveal some of them to you, it's not really totally a complicated life, but I made decisions in my life that has complicated certain things. So, like, I was never an Eagles fan. In fact, they were never on my radar. I mean, I'd heard the song. I heard "Take It Easy" before.
Sure.
I'd heard that, and I probably heard "Tequila Sunrise," and I probably heard "Life in a Fast Lane." I probably heard most everything on the radio, but didn't hear that. However, there was the one song that did put the Eagles on our radar growing up in the church.
Right.
And this is why we weren't when I was in the church. Now, prior to that, I wasn't a religious person. I didn't go to church. I didn't, we didn't have that, and we could listen, and we listened to music at home, mostly country music, but the Eagles were not anything. But as Dina can attest to, what was that song that we were forbidden?
Hotel California, the quintessential Eagles pinnacle, was the song that our religious leaders warned us against.
Right, because it was demonic.
And we just were told not to
Well,
listen.
to be fair, they were our spiritual superiors, supposedly, but we were just teenagers. And I understand that, okay, I'm going to try and take away, because I think the majority of the adults were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to protect us and try to focus our attentions on good and positive things of the Bible. And I understand that. And there's not a lot of people out there who would give their time voluntarily to do that. And those people are commended. On the other hand, there's something to be said about just lying about stuff.
Just making something up.
It's like it doesn't. If you want to, but okay. Anyway, the Hotel California, the number 3 best-selling album in the world of all time.
All time.
The number 1 best-selling album just kicked the number 2, which is Thriller, is the Eagles' greatest hits. There's something to be said about their music, right?
It's okay. It seems it's weird. It's an interesting kind of music because it seems current, and at the same time is nostalgic. I'm not quite sure how to classify it. It's like it fits all times.
Well, you could see that in the people who were there. I mean, I can tell you that Dina and I are in our mid 40s.
So
I'm creeping up on my late 40s, but
we were obviously too young.
Yeah.
I wasn't even here for the birth of the Eagles.
Was 71. I was a year old.
Right.
So,
and yet this is music that we set aside 9 months ago to go see.
Right.
So, it's kind of amazing, really.
Really, just recently have I really started doing, and I'm going to borrow this term from Tony Policastro at Acoustic Live TV. Deep dive is what he likes to use this term, deep dive into something. So I didn't really start deep diving into the Eagles until I watched the documentary. And when I watched the documentary on him, I'm like, oh, I gotta hear this, and I gotta hear this, because that kind of just. And I think it was probably you that was probably watching it first, because you like.
Well, I like biopics, so.
Yeah, so.
Especially music ones.
And so interesting, the tension and the contention of the whole band and how they broke up and then got back together and all that. And we're not going to go through the history of the Eagles because we want to talk about the concert. I'll tell you, Vince Gill, he got when they introduced him. Don Henley came out. Okay, well, first off, let's start up. Nobody opens for the Eagles. We looked before we went like, who's opening for the Eagles? We're like, I don't know, we haven't heard. So I went online, who's opening for the Eagles? Get on there, Google, who's opening for the Eagles in the concert on Saturday night? Nobody knows, because nobody opens.
Nobody did.
Why is that?
Well, their show was about 2.5 hours long, so
exactly.
They don't really need anybody to open. Plus, everybody went to see the Eagles.
Right, and there's no intermission. We're doing this, and we get in, and we get to our seats, and we're talking.
Because I even thought during intermission I might get a beer or something.
Right,
but no.
No, there's no intermission. Okay, I would say that the most intermission you get is about the 2 to 3 minutes that you have between songs when they're changing guitars, or the 2 encores.
Right. Right.
So I know there's
and
three
even
songs,
those were
but
fun
two.
to watch because the people were just not going to let it go.
It was pretty cool. So,
People tried to get a third. They really did.
They did. Oh well, no, we did try to.
They
get
tried.
Yeah, they really tried, but yeah, then they weren't having it. But to be fair, they played everything.
Oh
and
my
it was
gosh,
awesome.
and it's exhausting. They have to be exhausted.
So when they introduced Vince Gill, and I know a lot of people were like, "Oh," they asked us, "How are you gonna see the Eagles without Glenn Fry and this Vince Gill? Who is he? And Deacon and what's this going on?" I'll tell you what, guy. Of course, it's not the same without Glenn Fry. I mean,
No, but it is a little bit like interesting with his son there. So it's a little bit of a.
It's almost like looking back in time.
It is.
You see him standing up there.
It's like both sides of time on one hand because you have Don Henley, who's obviously his current age and stuff, but you have Deacon Fry, which looks just like his father.
Did back in the 70s.
With his hair and everything, the whole
Tall,
thing.
thin, good-looking guy. Yeah, he's just like, stand up there and sing and sound like him. Oh my!
And then you
goodness.
have Vince Gill, who is just so amazingly talented.
Yeah. Now I would have never guessed in a million years that Vince Gill would be with the Eagles, and I saw the interview when they picked him and stuff. And Vince Gill most of people look him up, and if you haven't seen, he's an accomplished musician, songwriter on his own,
In his own right.
and very humble. And very humble about being with the Eagles. And I mean, he knocked it out of the
Yeah, he did.
park. It was amazing. And then everything. Don Henley sounds like Don Henley.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
you can hear that voice and you know it's Don Henley. And it doesn't sound, to me, doesn't sound any different at the concert Saturday night as it does on the Hotel California album. I mean, it sounds the same. It sounds wonderful. And let's see who else. Joe Walsh.
Yeah, Joe Walsh is always Joe Walsh.
Man, that guy, I tell you what, he's an entertainer and very talented and tell you, he got the crowd going more than anybody.
Well, he just seems like he digs what he does.
Yeah. He got and I'll tell you, whenever they played either the James Gang covers or they played the his covers.
His songs, right?
Ooh, there was a lot of Joe Walsh fans there, a ton.
Yeah.
So, and we're Joe Walsh fans too, but it's kind of
It's sort of an offshoot for me of the fact that I like the Eagles.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't necessarily say I would just go out and listen to Joe Walsh, and I haven't. But when I hear a Joe Walsh song, I go, oh yeah, and I'll listen to it because it's cool. It's cool.
Also, the lighting effects were awesome.
The lasers,
and
background videos and oh man, it was
yeah, they had
incredible.
when they came out for the first encore was Hotel California, of course, because that has to be done.
Right.
And they came out, and of course the picture that everybody sees from the album cover in the background with the church steeple looking thing and stuff like that was
it was like
them.
You were watching a video.
It really was.
But they incorporated the guys on stage playing and singing into it at the same time. Yeah. So there were scenes almost like on a three-way board or something. It was so cool. They just did an amazing job. I mean, they're the Eagles. I mean, you would expect it to be amazing, and it was.
It was kind of cool when Deacon sang, I think it was it, did he sing Peaceful Easy Feeling? Yes. That he said Glenn used to sing, and then at the end, of course, there's a picture of Glenn Fry up on the board, and everybody's clapping, and so, I mean, it was just, I could not have hoped it would be a better concert, to be honest.
Yeah, it was good. It was a great, like I said, a great bucket list kind of thing. I'm so glad that we did it. If they're in your area, and from what we understand, we've seen some interviews, they're not sure what their whole, I think they're trying to feel like either how the fans are reacting to what they're doing now, and honestly, guys, I mean, think about it. We were looking at it, it's like Don Henley, 71. What do you say, 71, right?
Yeah, he was born in 47.
Yeah. So, but he was up there playing drums, and
even Vince Gill's no spring chicken. He's a good 10 years older than us. So
for Deacon,
Deacon's the young one,
right? And the other guitar player that took, I guess, shares lead guitar duties with Joe Walsh and took Don Felder's place, Stewart. He was amazing too. I mean,
it was awesome.
And I'm a guitar geek, I've told you, and I'm sitting there telling Dina which guitar, whenever they have switch guitars, I'm like, okay, that is an Ibanez, and that is a Paul Reed Smith, and that is a Fender Stratocaster, and Deacon looked like he was playing. It's hard to see exactly. It was a black guitar, but it looked like it had two P90s and was a Les Paul size, so it looked like maybe it was a Les Paul special, which I have an Epiphone Les Paul special that my kids got me for Father's Day, which I love. And then of course I'm a guitar geek, so then I want to know. Was that Glenn's guitar? So I go online when we get home, and I'm tired, but I'm looking online. And I'm going to the different gear reviews, like if you go like rig rundowns on YouTube by Premier Guitar and some other places. So I'm trying to find out what kind of gear. You can't find any because they seem to be pretty. They seem to be pretty tight.
But that seems to be that's how they've always been, which is one of the problems that they have with Don Felder, because he wrote the book.
Yeah, it's kind of challenging. So, all right, well. If you went to the Eagles concert and you have a story or like something to share, please write that in the comments below or send that to one of our myriad of social media sites. We're on everything. Okay,
everything.
So just check it out. Okay, you can hear us on SoundCloud. Our podcasts are on SoundCloud and on YouTube and all that good stuff.
And if you dig any of this, please go to Patreon. We are also on Patreon.
Yeah, you can subscribe, and we'll be having some. We're trying to develop some bonus material for those who want to. Maybe support us a little bit. We're not asking for a lot, but every
like maybe actual even recipes for some of the things that the drinks especially that we make.
Yeah, we do. That's right. Okay, we're gonna end this one. Coming up, the funny of the week. Hang tight for a giggle.
Get ready to get your bridges in a bunch. It's time for Peeve of the Week.
To the Peeve of the Week. And again, I'm going to take it. You guys got to be saying, Josh, you sure have a lot of peeves. Yeah.
He has a lot of peeves.
He's
peevy.
Yeah. There's a reason that my nickname, well, I used to be a gamer. I like to play games, but I take long hiatuses or what is the plural of hiatus? Hiatus?
I don't know. You could call it sabbatical.
I took a pause, playing a game. I took a pause. But Cantankerous is my gamer name because, well, it kind of fits my personality a little bit. I'm a little crusty and cantankerous. So that's why my peeve. I had a little give you a little foreshadowing earlier when we talked about the Eagles concert. Is my peeve is going anywhere in the downtown Phoenix area when there's any freaking event at all ever, trying to find parking. Just forget it.
Ever.
Right. And we bought parking. We bought it. We went to where we were supposed to go.
Couldn't get in.
No, we couldn't even get in there because they had everything blocked off. So we had to park away. And seriously, and this is why this is like giving birth. I almost wanted to just cross my legs and go home and just say, forget it. But then
we knew that we would be glad we saw it once we got in there.
It was so good, But it was just a ridiculous thing trying to get in. And we finally found a parking place and we got in, and it was amazing. We're so good. But I'll tell you what, it's almost as if they start putting those cones out there just to manipulate other drivers to go to certain places away from other places. And it just annoys me, Because as soon as the thing was over, all the cones were gone. And then everybody could get out.
Move about freely.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. So I'm not sure if people get paid by the cone or we have government officials down there, which I'm sure we do. So, guys, clean that mess up because, people are not going to want to come downtown anymore.
Well, actually, we decided what we're going to do the next time is if we decide to go to a concert down there, we're going to get a hotel.
Yep.
Because it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. That's right. So we'll figure out. But you know what? You got to figure this out, guys. I mean, we're Phoenix, for goodness sake. You can't have like every street torn up down there and you can't turn around and you having, the Eagles coming. Come on.
Fifth or sixth largest city, depending on the day. But
all right, give me a break. Get it together, y'all. All right. Anyway, coming up, pro tip of the week. Dina's got something smart for y'all. Hang tight.
Get out your notepads. It's time for pro tip of the week.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Josh.
I'm Dina.
And she has got the pro tip of the week. What you got, Dina?
Okay, so really what I wanted to kind of examine is the differences between your short-term goals and your long-term goals for your credit. Sometimes if you're in the middle, let's say, of needing to buy a house within the next month or two, you need to look short-term. Collections that are on your credit that might be old might not be a good idea to pay off at this moment because once you do, sometimes it makes them look new again, actually drops your score. It's a bad idea. However, if you're going to be in a time where, say, you have several months to a year that you're not going to need to be opening any new credit or getting any great deals, that might be the time to clean up old stuff. Because the litter, I call it the litter on your credit report actually keeps the good stuff on your credit from having the impact it should have. So if you go in and say, gosh, I've got this old collection, it's probably 3 or 4 years old, it's like $300, I'm going to go ahead and settle it, because then what you'll find is that the good stuff has more of an impact once all those items are zero balances. So like I said, you need to make sure that you talk to somebody about what your short-term versus long-term goals are. And if you have some time later on, go ahead and start settling the old junk that's just kind of hanging around.
Fabulous. All right. You guys get all that? Take notes. Every time we get to the pro tips, you should bring out some pads or pens or go back, listen to it again. This is something that we're also thinking of. If we decide to get into the bonus material in our Patreon account, pro tips could be very valuable to you. So keep that in mind if you are considering being a sponsor. Okay, go to our Patreon page and sign up. All right, coming up next, where are Josh and Dina in their life story? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Shh. Quiet and listen. It's time for Marriage Story of the Week.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the part of the program where we talk about where we are in our story. Let's do a little recap. Last time we spoke about our transition of living together and how Dina has now trained me to be a good husband or good housemate.
Yeah, whatever.
Or whatever you want to call it, right?
I also trained you to eat a lot of spaghetti.
Yeah, but your spaghetti was really good.
I didn't know how to make anything
I never had spaghetti with actually melted cheese on it.
That's how we always did it.
We had always had spaghetti and with the Parmesan, in the green can. That's the kind of can. That's the kind of
we
cheese
never bought that.
Yeah, we had that kind of cheese. And the first time that she made it, and yeah, there was cheese on it. I loved it. It was good. But it was weird at first. And then, just like any, young couple that didn't have a pot to pee in, if we had hot dogs the night before, guess what we used for garlic bread for the spaghetti?
Oh, always hot dog buns.
The hot dog buns.
We always used hot dog buns for garlic bread.
There was a little bit of mold, you just pinch that off and keep it going, right? Because you don't.
They're the right shape and everything.
That's right. It works out good. So we were living. I think we talked about our little apartment that we had. And I will tell you, at the time, I was a minister at a church, and in the area, and we had gotten married, and the apartment was, I think it was probably a mile or two from the church where I worked. And then we started looking in the neighborhood, there was some houses being built.
Right.
Right. So we went down and
put some money down.
Yeah.
Qualified.
Started building the house.
Yep.
So how long were we in the apartment? Was it a 6-month or a year lease?
I think it was a year lease, and I think we were able to sort of break it early. We basically let them know that we were going to be buying a house, and the idea was if they could rent it, they would let you out of the lease.
And they could, right?
And they could, right. So we left it early.
Right. So we went and we moved in with
your mom?
My mom. While we waited for the house to be built. And I was going and checking, and this was further. I lived down with Tukey. And then driving up to, well, I'm not going to tell you where, but just say it was a church in Chandler. Okay? So we went there, and then I don't want to get in. I'm not going to get into a bunch of stuff. Let's just say some crap went down, and
well, it's a church. It gets political. I mean,
right.
I think that at the time we were in our early 20s, and we had this idea that politics and games didn't enter into quote unquote religious areas, right. But we were young and foolish.
That Jesus and would protect you from everything, and it's just say it doesn't really work that way.
We got taught a lesson,
but we could get that might be a conversation for another time. But let's just say things happened. Josh lost his job. Okay. And
through no fault of Josh's.
oh no, I mean I didn't.
I feel like I need to make it clear.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No fault of mine.
I will say that Dina was not helpful in that regard.
That's not true. No, that's not true. We just had someone, supervisor, who came in who
had his own agenda, but never wanted to make it clear that that's what was happening.
He wanted to get rid of me his way, and because I had suggested and offered several times to step away voluntarily, and that was not how he wanted to play it. He wanted to be powerful. Well, anyway, long story short, I left many years later. That man got fired from his church, big giant church. In fact,
not the same church. He
church,
moved on.
Big giant mega church, and got fired because he cheated with his secretary. So, yeah, karma's a bitch. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, it is, but that's okay.
It's okay. So here we go. I lost my job. I had no idea what the hell I was going to do. We had a house being built. We were living with my parents.
Well, the good thing, if you want to call it that, is we were able to go to tell the people that we had qualified with the house, he lost his job.
Yeah.
They had to return our earnest money, so it's not like there was any money lost there.
Yep. And I didn't know what to do. So we had bills. I mean, we had insurance, health insurance and stuff and things. And now all of a sudden I don't have a job. I mean, they paid me a pittance of a severance, basically hush money. I was too young and too stupid, and I should have really, I trust people, and I learned my lesson too. I got burned. I'll never do that again. That's what's called by learning a lesson. You learned it. So
they're not always fun, but they're important.
Right. There's a reason people have scars.
Correct.
Right. And hopefully you don't get a scar in the same place.
And like I said, we were young and
naive.
I
thought we were
kind
smart.
of pulled along just
we thought we were
by
smart
the wind.
too.
Yeah.
We thought we were arrogant in our own minds, thinking that we were untouchable, that God was going to protect us and everything was going to be hunky dory and we were going to live happily forever after. But we are doing that, but of no consequence to any church. Just FYI. So I got a job like within that week as a security guard, working overnights.
Making much less than you had, but still you were working.
I was working, and then got another job working as a armored car driver and money deliverer, and that was about the same money, but working 80 hours a week
without overtime.
Because no overtime, because they had some kind of freaking loophole with the banks and the government.
That's shocking.
Yeah, so had to work twice as long to get paid, and then deliver. One of my stops was at a Walgreens in Scottsdale, and just so happens I was delivering that, and next thing you know, I walked in and they were talking about needing somebody for an overnight position, so I asked and didn't get that position, but got a job in the liquor department. So I left that and got a job and worked for Walgreens. I worked my way from liquor clerk all the way up to store manager, and worked there for 11 years. And that's where we're going to stop.
I mean, Walgreens ended up being a good thing. I think at the time, I was at the daycare at first that was right next to the church that you worked at. And then I got a job at a grocery store. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was working when you got your job at Walgreens.
Yeah. Yep. And things began on their way.
Yeah.
We should backtrack. I think I jumped too far. Well, I'll give you that in the preview. We're going to backtrack a little bit because there's a story I got to tell you about before I got the job with Walgreens, where Josh got some news Dina got some news that she wasn't so sure Josh was going to be.
This is true.
That I was going to be very happy about. And that happened not long after I lost my job.
I would say 4 months?
4 months.
Something along that line.
So we'll talk about that next week in our podcast.
Was the news?
So what was the news?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Okay, most of you can figure this out. But
Drum roll.
what do you think it might be? Okay, coming up, Josh's Sabbath coffee. What? Hang tight.
Get out your glasses. It's time for the Moonshine Safari drinks and recipes.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I am Josh.
I'm Dina.
Dina's always here.
I'm
Josh is
always here. I never leave.
Hey, Dina, what is something that you like me to make you on Sabbath mornings when you wake up?
Your very magical, special coffee.
Magical special coffee. Now let's just say when in the mornings on the Sabbath, okay? We're talking like 11:30 kind of mornings, okay? We're talking like that kind of time because I want you to think
I'm allowed to sleep in late.
Right. Well, of course it's a Sabbath. Okay. For those of you, okay, it's a long story. You're probably going, wait, didn't you say you were a minister of church just a few minutes ago? What's this Sabbath stuff? Okay, we'll get into that later. All right. So
that's more of the story. You have
more
to
of the story.
tune into.
Yeah. See, you're like, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. They got like 14 personalities. Yeah,
that's right.
Maybe 15. So
life's a journey.
Josh's Sabbath coffee. So this is how I make my Sabbath coffee, everybody. I'm not gonna give you, because I don't measure necessarily some things, but I cook. I'm not a baker. I mix if it tastes good. So that's how I do it. So my Sabbath coffee, I take a quart ball jar, quart mason jar, whatever you got, right? Okay, and I take 1 shot of the Stillhouse Mint Chip Moonshine. Yes, Stillhouse Mint Chip Moonshine.
Mint chip.
I think we've done a review on that, I think, already.
I think we did.
And then
it's amazing.
I take a little bit of Van Meer's brownie and pour that in there. It's a liqueur. And then some Bailey's espresso cream.
Oh my gosh.
Then Kahlua Especial. And that is the higher alcohol content and very delicious. Then I fill it up with ice, top it off with some cold brew coffee, take a straw, mix it up, and
it's beautiful.
Yum, yum, enjoy. That's Josh's Sabbath coffee. Well, everybody, that wraps up our show for this week. We thank you so much for listening. Sorry if we rambled too much or if I got on too much of a tangent about some other things, but thank you for hanging tight. We had a great time.
We said, though, it's all about the story.
That's right. And you know what? Hope you guys have a memorable 9/11. Please take a little time to remember who...
remember the sights and stuff, because like Josh said, sometimes we start to forget.
We do. And we desensitize ourselves to things. And it's not fair. You know what? I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy in Tupelo. He's a sergeant in the fire department down there. Him and his crew, and I think there was like 14 or 15. I'm sorry if I messed up the number. A bunch of departments in the area. They do a stair climb every year in honor. And I think his son is a fireman too. And I'm just, he's a guy that I grew up with when I was a young kid. And he does this every year in honor of those who have gone in climbing the stairs. And thank you guys. Thank you to all the first responders. We owe our first responders a lot. We do. Thank you guys. All right. Till next time. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week.
Ciao.
Hey y'all, welcome to Moonshine Safari. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, as well as check the description for information on our social media sites, as well as our Patreon account to help support our adventures in the Moonshine Wilderness.